Thinking about self-publishing and don't know where to start? Join the Spa Girls each week for 30 minutes of honest advice, tips and resources. I'm Trudy J and I'm here with Shah Barrett.
Hello.
Cheryl Phipps.
Hi there.
And Wendy Vella.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome to another episode.
Another episode.
Who
would have thought?
I know, right? Like, it's not like we haven't done this every week for 5 years.
Yes.
Is it that long? Oh,
Yeah.
Glory me.
Yeah. Goodness me. So this week we are going to talk about running out of steam in the middle of a book, or even just your writing career. We just wanted to talk about what you do when you just, I don't know, lost all the motivation. You just lying there on the floor, can't be bothered.
The little engine is halfway up the hill.
Yeah.
Chugga, chugga, chugga.
Yeah.
It can't quite.
Happens to us all.
No mojo.
No mojo. No mojo.
Okay.
That's a great way of saying it. So, at the risk of going downhill there, we're going to go up and say,
Yes.
how
What can we do?
Yeah. So, okay, let's start with the middle of a book, because that's a smaller bit, and then we'll widen out to the author career kind of concept. So I used to get this. I
think it's pretty common, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
You know what I did? I changed from 3-act structure to 4-act structure. And it made it so much easier, because in the 3-act structure, you have 25% is the first act, 50% is the third in the middle act, and then 25 is the last act. And so you've got this big, gaping, monstrous middle act that you had to kind of suffer through. And it used to just, I don't know, they just used to go on. And then I changed to 4-act structure, and it's like 25, 25, 25, 25. And just the idea that you're finishing in that middle there, I mean, it was always there. It hasn't changed the book at all. It's just my mindset around the book.
Of course. Yeah.
And it's just like, it changes it down to 4 chunks instead of this one gaping big one in the middle. And that just helped me. Like,
Yeah.
Well, I think the whole thing about changing things up is that you're almost trying to trick yourself, encourage yourself, sure, but almost trick yourself into jumping over that hurdle, because you're like a horse. You're there and it's there, and you just can't seem to go any further. But actually, to force you over, maybe a couple of carrots on the other side doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
I'm glad you pronounced the S in that, because initially
What? Well, I don't know.
I heard it as not horse. But sorry.
I have no idea.
I don't know where she's gone with it. I suggest we move on quickly.
Yeah, let's move on quickly.
I have no idea.
It must be
what
dodgy.
she's done.
No,
I'll have to listen to this.
I can see by her face that it's dodgy, but I have no idea what she's talking about.
Think of
Talking amongst yourselves.
Sorry.
Leave her alone.
Okay,
Leave her alone.
sorry.
Give the word
listeners,
horse
watchers.
without the S in it. Say the word horse without a S.
Oh,
And I was like, wow, we're going there already, and we're only 3 minutes.
No,
in.
we
that's
were
not
going
such
there.
It was
a bad
me
word.
talking. It was me talking. No.
And then
It's not such a bad word. It could have been a lot worse because it was her. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, moving on.
Anyway.
So, you're in the
That was
middle
a
of
great
the book.
analogy.
actually
With a couple of carrots.
talking of that though, so that leads me very naturally on to the idea of putting sexy times in to stretch this to
Of a book or your personal life?
well, either or, but we're talking about the book at the moment, and it was just
I mean, I don't put sexy times in
Just
just
to-
because I
yeah.
can't go on, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
best to have a reason for putting the sexy times in.
it depends what genre you're writing, but
absolutely.
it brings in it it's a creating thing, should we say?
Oh yeah, that creating conflict. I
Sure.
get to whatever. Like, has anyone got the mute button on her?
I'm thinking it would be a good use of our time today.
Well, I don't know what she's on this morning.
So I get to about 40,000 words, and then I go back and rewrite the book.
Oh,
That's
really?
how I've always done it.
Oh my
I couldn't
goodness.
Rest
believe
of the
that.
world
That
cringes.
gives
Yeah.
me hives.
Yeah.
So what I do is I'll go back and rework the big book from the beginning, tighten everything up that now I know is happening because I'm not a plotter. And then by the time I get back to the thing, I'm at 50. So I can usually work 10 in just doing that, and then I'm away. I just need to get to that point where about 50K, and then I'm away. But
Of understanding your story.
the beginning's all good, so I'm just faffing around, and then I'll go back and really tighten it up and rework it and understand it, and then I'm on from there. So that works for me. Also, when I'm at a point where I'm really struggling and just like, I want to just hate this book, I'm hating on this book, I actually will pack up my stuff and go to a cafe, or
Mm.
pack up my stuff and go to another environment, anything, or get out of the house and go to a walk and rework it in my head, those sort of things. But I sometimes, if I just, it's like trying to force a square peg into a round hole. Sometimes it just doesn't work, and you actually have to think, well, give in, concede just for half an hour, and then start again.
It's not
Yeah.
conceding. I think it's actually a really sensible thing to do,
Yeah.
because as soon as I do that, I used to do that where I'd sit there and I'd force myself to
Oh,
sit
yeah,
for
yeah.
hours, and it's
Yeah.
actually quite blocking.
Yeah,
Like you're
it
not
is.
helping, and if you
Well, you're beating yourself up, aren't you?
yeah,
Yeah.
and
So-
it's also like there's something about
Yeah.
it that's just not flow.
Mm.
It's like force.
But that's an
doesn't work.
understanding, isn't it, of your writing process? And I
Yes.
think that that's something all of us probably have to come to, is that
Yeah.
understanding your writing process, because you're going to be different. We're all different, all four
We
of
are.
us.
Yeah, so different.
Very, very different. I mean, I wished I could plot. I have tried to plot so many times in my lifetime. I could fill a whole wall with all the
Mm.
little scribblings I've done.
Mhm.
Still, it doesn't work. So I
But
have
it
to just
blocks you, right? So it's funny. that
totally
it-
blocks me.
That's
Goes the
what
other
blocks
way,
you. So
yeah.
don't do it. Right?
The only
And then-
only book I've ever plotted, I haven't written. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
ironic. Whereas
Yeah.
for me, plotting is like the thing that helps me get through, for example, the
Yeah.
middle. Like I need to know at least where I'm going. I don't like to know every single little bit. And
Yeah.
for me, the creativity is figuring out how I get there, if that makes sense.
Mm.
Like I know that I have to get to this point because of this. And then often as I'm writing, it's the crazy ways that my brain comes up with for them to actually get there. And that's where my creativity comes from. And that's why I don't mind kind of plotting out a certain amount of it, but it helps me in the middle, because if I used to get to the middle and feel like I was bored or something, and in fact that's the other thing, if you're bored,
Your reader's going to be bored.
like you need to think about that as well. Like maybe you're going on too long about something, or something's happening, because the middle should actually be quite like, the middle is often the no turning back. There's supposed to be a big thing that
Exciting
happens.
incident. And,
Yeah. And so if there's not things like that happening in the middle of your book.
I find another way that I deal with it is to actually move on. So if not to the next chapter, sometimes I might just write the ending.
Yeah.
Or sometimes just something about the book that I've been thinking about for a while. It's been percolating in there, sometimes keeping me awake. So I'll get that out, and that's actually, I can figure out a way to get there then, or what happens after that. So there might be still something missing in the book, but I think there always is anyway. But sometimes for me it's actually quite a big chunk. So I know other people would probably cringe at that, but it's to me
that's a good idea.
Just whatever gets you through.
Because some authors write the scenes that they can see, so they can't necessarily see all the scenes, and they'll just write the scenes that they can see and then kind of fill in the gaps between that. So that might be, if you're someone who struggles with that middle bit, maybe you can write all the different scenes that and then there is no middle anxiety kind of thing.
But I think that's really hard if you're linear, and that's and that's what I am, and I would love to do that, because I can see what's happening in places, but I just physically can't write ahead.
You're such a Virgo. So a couple of the resources that we've talked about before and that are super popular is, one of them is Romancing the Beat, which is by Gwen Hayes, particularly if you're writing a romance, and she talks about the different beats in the story that kind of need to be there, if you like, and that can help if you're struggling, particularly if you're writing one of your first books, and just kind of struggling to push through the middle. And the other one is Jamie Gold's, we're going to put the links in the show notes, Jamie Gold's site. She's got a number of beat sheets in there as well with different, and that can super help. A lot of people find that really helpful.
Is it just me, or does beat sheets sound a bit dodgy?
No, that's just you.
I've
recovered from the
self-publishing podcast,
He brought it up before.
It was a genuine.
You can't be looking at me like
I think the
Freak.
horse thing is understable. The beat
Oh,
thing is a
really?
stretch.
I don't
Just
know.
saying.
I don't know.
And-
Anyway, sorry. Back to Jamie
What a
Gold.
coffee, Wendy.
I'll meet you down the road, mate. The only sane ones in the group.
it's a bad day when that happens. The other thing I would say is writing sprints. They can get you out of a funk. Just send it 10 minutes and just or 5 minutes even, or 1 minute.
Just
and-
writing in a group too, like,
yes.
and write. I find because we will quite often write together, and I find writing with people around me is really quite. It's not. I'm not competitive, maybe a bit,
It's
but you know, like
Competitive.
yeah,
It's competitive. You're 100% competitive, Wendy.
but you know, like I just find that energy. But plus, it stops you from flicking onto Facebook or putting the washing out, or
Yes.
those. You're just in an environment where you must write.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
if you don't know anyone else, there are sprint rooms and things like that that you can go into.
I highly recommend those.
Yeah.
The Leveling Up Romance group, they on Facebook, they do have a sprint room, and people are always in there. So if you're on your own and you don't know anyone else to sprint with, check in with them. Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
But I think we were talking about it before, that maybe if you have a friend that's also an author, just maybe zooming with them and discussing a plot point or something like that. That if that's what's stopping you, then maybe they will have another suggestion. Wendy and I used to go to places together to write, but on the way we would talk about the books that we were writing, and often we'd thrash it out by the time we got there, wouldn't we? You know,
well, and I mean, Shah, I'll quite often sit down with Shah before I start a book, and I'll work out stuff with her, and I'll go, Shah, this is where I'm going.
She ignores it all afterwards, though. Just like to point that out.
But it helps her to kind of get through it in her own head. Your ideas are nothing to her, but it helps her.
Sounding. No, but and I would
also make you feel good.
Yeah. But I would also say that if you write anything with suspense in, the only thing I will ever plot or work out is the suspense element, because there is nothing worse. And point of fact, the last book I wrote, I didn't work it out, so I changed it from three different times during the book. If you write suspense, and Cheryl will back me up on this, make sure you know what the suspense element is and how it's going to resolve itself. I think that's vital.
Yeah, you should definitely do that every time.
Yeah.
I think there's lots of things that you should do before the book like that, but I'm just not going to mention it because other people would disagree.
No, go girl, go. We won't disagree with you.
No. But I like the idea. I do that too.
Mm.
My friend Tanya and I will get on Zoom, and we help each other with kind of, and it's just bouncing ideas, and sometimes they'll think of an angle that you couldn't think of, and just something like that might just help recharge those kind of creative lulas that are in your head. That are
lulas, But speaking it out loud, I think shows you how it could work or how it just wouldn't work. You know, I think it just clarifies a lot.
I think it's really important not to beat yourself up, and this has taken me a long time to work out. Why is it not working? Why can't I write this? You know, it's a process, and these guys always say to me, Wendy, it's part of your process. Every time you get to this point, you say to us, I hate this book. Or every time you get to this point, you say, and I don't know I'm doing
clockwork.
Yeah.
How many books now? And every time she's like, I never felt like this before. This is you're insane. And we're like, no, we've been here before.
We should tape it. We should actually tape
it. So what I'm saying is, I think it's really important early on to understand your process. So you don't get, that you understand that, this is happening because this is what I do, But
you've got to do it to understand that that's your process, right? You're not going to figure that out until you've got a few books under your belt.
No, and it can change from book to book depending on what genre you're writing, or just even how the story fits, how the idea came to you, and you thought it was such a great idea, and you start writing it, and it's like, this doesn't fly. This is like, I'm going to have to write a whole new premise or start from the beginning.
And that's right. And my daughter said to me the day you come to me and say, Mum, this is a great book, I know it's going to be terrible. And that's the truth of it.
Yeah.
That's what we do. That's what we say.
So I think there's a mindset aspect, and it's kind of what we're talking about here, to being in the middle of the book and feeling overwhelmed and feeling worried and feeling the fear and letting that kind of block you as well. Like you're in the middle, and you're like, oh, where am I going to go? And it's so important to me that this is really good. And you put that pressure on yourself, and then suddenly you can't write, or you can't think what's going to happen next. So along with kind of what Wendy was saying about the whole kind of be kind to yourself, and, just it's okay. And just calm down, it's okay. You've got to really kind of go, writing is great. I love writing. Remind yourself why you're doing it, and just kind of ease into it, rather than kind of, again, it's that whole forcing yourself thing that
And I
It's
think
also-
that kind of segues into how your life is in that moment.
Yes.
You know, what the external pressures that you have that are, you know, maybe just playing havoc with any sort of thought processes or imagination that sometimes comes
absolutely.
easily.
Well, if you've got a household of 6 or 8 people all at home under the same roof, it can be really hard to have creative space, or let alone noise. Just on that subject, in terms of mindset, I think a lot of writers have found affirmations really helpful, just on sort of lifting their energy a bit. And I would say too, music is a huge one for me that can alter my mood considerably. So yeah,
It's funny though, because some people can't write with any music at all, and some people
I don't.
like. Yeah.
But not even writing with it, sometimes just listening to it can be, for me, is really, it can just completely change my
Well,
you
music
yourself
has
out
the
of it.
power to
Yeah.
lift you, doesn't it? So
Absolutely.
Taking yourself out of that where you were.
I
and things
believe
that
the children are.
yeah, that sort of thing.
Yeah, something
Okay.
inspiring and
Just like
exciting,
that,
right?
just like that.
something.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
like that. Take
And
yourself out of the environment of what is
don't look at all the boxes that you you're in the middle of moving, and
Don't look at those. Definitely don't look at those.
take yourself from the environment that's bogging you down and put yourself in a new one.
Yeah,
That really
absolutely.
works. I think
Or just
So
learn how to do it. Like I remember, like Wendy, this. I mean, I've talked about this so many times now, but it was a game changer for me. Like learn how to focus in the environment you're in, because sometimes you can't always get out of the environment you're in.
Yeah.
So for example, Wendy said to me, I just sit and write while next to my husband while he watches TV, and I put my headset on and I write. And I was like, you can do that? Like, okay. And I started doing it, and it really, really worked. Like it was something I hadn't occurred to me before. Like just you can write anywhere.
It's getting around the fact that it is something that has to be done, especially when it becomes a job. So while we're giving you all this information about let's get up and walk away and let's do this, let's go. Sometimes you just can't. So how do you change that? You get up, take a few deep breaths, walk around the house, sit down and get back into it with another mindset, but you've still got to do it.
It's I think it's changing that mindset. It's amazing how much we talk ourselves out of things. Like we tell ourselves this is hard. Oh, I'm at the middle again. Oh no, last time it was really hard at the middle. It's probably going to be really hard this time. You go, no, writing is easy. I'm good at writing. I love writing. I'm writing for my own personal self-satisfaction. This is going to be great. Suddenly you're telling yourself those kinds of things. Suddenly you feel so much better, right?
And I think instead of like putting things off, saying, well, I might feel better tomorrow, so I'll leave it to tomorrow. Sometimes tomorrow doesn't come, right?
Yeah.
So and suddenly it's next week or the week after, and you realize that you've written nothing. So you have to find your way out, and it can be. We've given you so many suggestions, I think, but ultimately it'll be what works for you.
Yeah.
Another
one. Yeah, you do. I mean, this one thing that I would say for me as a plotter that helps me hugely is so for the last few books I've written, and it's helped hugely, is I did Lisa Cron's, like I've read her book, I've done her course, we had her on the podcast, and she talks about the misbelief of the main character and the goal, and the misbelief is the thing that's stopping them from achieving their goal. Like they're really interlinked. And even just having that, in Scrivener, I have it in my notes next to the chapter. And as I'm going, I can always I just look over and go, oh, that's right, that's what she believes. And everything I do, everything I write has to feed into that misbelief, and also figuring out how she's going to get to achieve the goal that she sort of wants at the end, and how they're going to she's going to get over the misbelief and things like that. So that helps me keep focused and keep going, and making sure that everything I'm doing, and even in the middle when you're kind of going, oh, I don't know where to go next, and there's so much more to go, knowing what the misbelief is and going, oh, well, what would really kind of conflict against that misbelief? Like if she believes that she can't eat marshmallows, well, let's put her in a giant marshmallow room, and the only thing she can eat is marshmallows or something, like whatever. I'm just being silly with that, but
are you?
Yeah,
so relieved.
I know.
I believe you.
Yeah, I know you did. And but it's just that kind of thing, like, and suddenly it almost writes itself, like, because you know what the misbelief is, and I mean the Michael Haig kind of calls it, like, he talks about the wound and how that's changed them and things like that. Like it's sort of in a lot of different writing gurus kind of workbooks, but I just like the way Lisa Cron sees it, and it's this misbelief, and it's how they view the world, and you just have to keep pushing at them, and so it writes the scenes create themselves because that, and that's quite helpful to me in keeping going. That's my
Yeah.
whole point.
Which is a nice segue, because I'm just looking at the timer here, because we're going to talk a little bit that those sort of same mindset things do apply to the actual business of it as well. I think for a lot of us, this year, 2020 has felt weirdly fast and weirdly long at the same time. It's kind of surreal time. It's very hard to, when you haven't got events, often normal events that you attend kind of to marquee different parts of the year, suddenly it all stretches out, and yet somehow here we are, we're recording this in December.
How did
but
that
it's
happen?
really easy to lose steam in your writing career as well, or just your aim to, if you're not doing it full time, then your aim to want to do it, or
when all around you is imploding and everyone is so tired at the moment and exhausted, aren't we?
well, not even that, just sometimes, even if everything's going well, sometimes it's easy to run out of steam. So what do you do
that's
then?
the truth. Exactly. I don't know. I think it's definitely a mindset thing. I mean, the thing is, for writing is something we have to do, because that's our job. So you have to, I think that's a mindset shift too in itself. Like if you're going from it being a hobby or something you start, which is what we all did to start with, and then it becomes a job, it's a different mindset again. You actually have to do it. So when you're tired and your things are not going well, for me, I have small little triggers that I do. I must have my headphones on when I write, even if sometimes I put my headphones on 5 or 10 minutes before I start writing and start faffing around and stuff and little, accounting stuff and admin stuff, which I hate with a passion. And then I can write. But,
it's settling you into that zone.
And sometimes I'll write an absolute load of crapola and then I'll be in, so writing myself into the mood. And that's, I think, something, because we're writers, we have to write it, I have to write. That's what I've had to learn to do.
What are you listening to through your headphones?
Well, I'm a rock girl, soft rock. I listen to just pretty much anything. I've got a whole playlist of old, young, all sorts. I've even got rap on there. I got a whole lot of different stuff. Whatever I like, I just download.
Is it all kind of motivational? Like, it's kind of, I listen to stuff and it's like, like I wouldn't listen to, I used to listen to like Nora Jones. It's like, floaty. Now I'm like, rah, 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 rah.
No, I'm all different. It's all different. Not really just you.
I can't listen to lyrics.
I do. I don't hear them.
Lyrics. I can't. I used to listen lo-fi beats, or I do Brain FM. I love Brain FM. We've talked about it before as well. And and you can do.
I used to listen to classical music all the time, but I can't listen to that anymore. I find it.
I have quiet, which is ironic because I do go to cafes to write, which are very noisy.
Yeah.
But
it's kind of white noise. You can have that too if you what was it?
No, it drives me nuts.
You can't handle the cafe backdrop. Okay. Interesting. We're all brains are different, eh?
Yeah.
So it all different. Becomes it's like I can put my writing playlist on now and I don't hear it. But as soon as that music starts in my ears, my brain goes, oh, I could go there with that book. And it's like, I can be, boom, I'm back, and that's the trigger. It's like what it's trained.
Yeah, you've triggered. That's awesome. That's brilliant. That's a good trigger to have, actually.
I think it's training, isn't it? It's training to do it.
Yeah. Your brain has been trained to start going when it hears that music. Awesome.
Well, the first time I went to a cafe, first several times I went to a cafe, I did struggle. I'd be, a child would say something or a person, and I'd be like,
yeah.
I didn't think that they were speaking to me, but it just took me out of what I was doing. But now,
we're used to it now because we do it
once or twice
a week.
Yes. Yep.
We do it once or twice a week,
it's all doable.
And that's another thing. Quite often, if your energy levels are down and you're feeling a bit blah, you just need to be with people. And if you can have that one friend or that couple of friends that you can actually go and spend time with and write with, because it is a very solitary thing. And we've said this a million times, because it is. And sometimes you just cannot motivate yourself. So being around others and getting that motivation through them, I think sometimes really works.
And acknowledging that we're in the privileged position of being able to do that here,
yes.
like as in our country.
Oh, yeah, true.
But I mean, touch wood, 2021 will see actually being in human contact again. But Zoom, I mean, we're all in different parts of the country, soon to be in different parts of the country
Yeah.
because
We're all
everybody's leaving
moving.
me,
Right.
and
So
everybody-
my abandonment issues are really being triggered right about that. But this
You can
it's
come
not,
with us, Shah.
Yeah.
it's
We're all
not
moving away
it's
from
not
her.
quite the same, but I think it's important to see people and to talk to people.
Yeah.
Particularly when you're feeling really isolated, particularly when you're feeling like,
All right, everyone's
know.
leaving you. Don't go on about it. All right, we've said
There is the
several-
phone. There is the
Yeah,
phone.
we'll make an
Yeah.
effort to see you. I
Oh, no,
promise.
phones. No, I don't like phones.
Yeah,
But
no, it's true. You need to. We are, a lot of us are pack animals, and I'm one of them. And I really need to be around people. And if I don't see people for a while, then I find my levels just go.
yeah,
so I
totally.
need to.
Yep, I feel the same.
Yeah,
And I think a lot of us, just in general in the writing community, are missing that contact with others at conferences and
Yes,
person,
because doesn't that boost you? I remember
It
last year when we came
does.
back from
Yeah.
RAM, we were firing. We were
It
so
does.
pumped up.
There is
Yeah.
nothing like it. And I mean, the online ones have been great. I've just
love
signed
them.
up for Inca's MiniCon in 2021. I really enjoy them, but there is something about being in a room. So let's look
Yeah.
forward to that. And
Yep.
Okay, so
Absolutely.
one of
Fingers
those, like, let's think about now, like, kind of end of year, everyone's feeling, Christmas, all that kind of stuff. What kind of things can we be doing if you're feeling, you feel like you're running out of steam? Do you, like, for me, for example, I haven't really planned to do as much this time of year. Like, I don't have a book that, I probably got a book I could start, but I'm not going to pressure myself to start it until January. I'm just letting myself kind of have a couple of weeks where I'm doing admin and I'm doing ads and things like that, but I'm not kind of going full out on stuff. Or do you just, what do? Do you go full out and just keep moving forward?
Yeah, I've actually booked an edit for February. Yay. That was a really silly thing to do, but there you go. But I don't know. Yeah, I'm a little bit like that. I've had a couple of weeks off, to be fair. I've just been doing admin, like you, because I think you do. I don't know what everyone else is like, but I think I feel really, I'm so tired, like it's been a really crazy year. But I will kickstart in again. I just needed a couple of weeks to get my, and then what I'll do is I'll just go through the processes like I always do. I'll sit down and work out the book and work out the names and stuff like that. And I'll start that process all over again, and away I'll go, because it has to be done.
Do you think maybe that's another thing you could think of is take a break? Like, if you're feeling
absolutely
it's too much at this time of year, it's just take like, I'm not saying a big break, but I'm just thinking it's the same when you're sitting down to write. Maybe it's when you're sitting there looking at your career and you're kind of going, maybe you need to just take a couple of days off and just give yourself a break, give your brain a break, and just say, this is okay. Like, don't freak out about it, but I'm taking a break now before I burn out in 5 months down the track or something. You kind of got to,
maybe you've got to look at your deadlines and tweak things, push them. There's no shame in that, as long as if you've got edits booked or whatever, that you let people know well ahead of time. I'm a big believer in that. Don't leave people hanging. Don't make promises you can't keep, but life changes, so sometimes you actually can't do that. So let people know about it. And I've found if you're kind to people, if you're nice to people and thoughtful, they will be the same to you, because people are so understanding right now with everything that everybody's going through. Everybody's willing to make little tweaks to life to fit everybody in, and nobody wants to make other people miserable.
And like brainstorming can help in a group for writing issues, I also think this can really help for writing business issues as well. Just sort of talking about it with other people, and maybe it's not what they have the answers, but maybe it's about the questions that they ask can help pinpoint something or uncover something for you that's not working for you, and it might be something like you're doing something that you think needs to be done, but it doesn't really resonate with you. I'm thinking, for example, everybody's on Instagram, and so you're pulling your hair out every night trying to post on your author Instagram profile, and it's just that it's using that last bit of energy you have, but it's not actually benefiting you. And sometimes somebody asking why are you doing that can actually, or you
Yep.
know, well, what are you hoping to get from that, can really help uncover that kind of thing. So I'd say
Yeah.
brainstorming that kind of thing as well.
Don't chase your tail, just keep it. When
Well,
Don't
things,
but
spread yourself so thin.
But
Yeah.
it's easy to chase your tail when because you think you have to. It's very, when you're in that spiral of thinking or acting, it's very hard to pull yourself out of that. And sometimes another person from an external point of view can actually pinpoint something, or like I say, just ask a question.
yeah.
And we do get told that we have to hustle. You know what I mean? Like I
I
hear that quite
hate
often.
that word.
I know, same.
The two phrases that I want to burn boss babe hashtag. I loathe that with the
Never heard that in my life.
thousand suns. Boss babe, when you're in the planner community, which I am, it's no, you don't
So
see
that's a no to
men,
that
you
one
don't
then.
see men's stickers with boss dude. Like, stop talking down to women sticker manufacturers and go away with your boss
But we
babes.
digress. What's the next one?
And also, anybody that uses it on Instagram hashtag is an automatic unfollow from myself, just saying.
Right.
And the other one that I hate is hustle. I just like, you know what, we're all freaking hustling that was fricking, by the way, to hustle just to bloody survive this year, you know, and don't be telling me to hustle, you know.
Okay.
Hustle was a dance in the 70s that I did in the school gym.
Do the hustle.
I did with John Travolta. Saturday Night Fever.
No idea.
Saturday Night
No
Fever.
idea.
And I had my Levi
Google
jeans
it,
because it was
Troodles.
my first pair of Levi jeans that I was allowed to have, and it was a big deal, particularly in New Zealand, because they were super expensive. And we did the hustle in the school gym.
Nice.
Yeah. And so
Okay,
that
so those
is
are
hustle.
two words.
All right.
Yeah.
So I just hustle
Hustle
is
a
just,
little long, boss babe.
yeah. Now we know how to trigger Shah.
Yes,
Like we've talked about all of her triggers.
Writing them down.
Hashtag.
Hashtag boss babe. All right. But the hustle thing is like, you've got to do everything, and and if you're not doing everything, there's something wrong, and you're not going to make it, and you're not going to do well as an author. And I think that just sounds tiring. Like,
Oh my goodness. Way to beat yourself up on that one, eh?
Yeah. So I think it's okay to write and find a couple of other things that you need, you know, that are going to help you, and just focus on those and get good at those and get a system in place and figure all that out. And just the rest of it can just, it's, you know, not having an Instagram profile is not going to, it might, and you know, it might not be a terrible thing to do down the track. I'm not saying it doesn't work ever, because you can hear people saying it does, but if it's the one thing that's tipping you over the edge, get rid of it. You know,
you can't do all the things all the time. You can only do some of the things.
And I would say, in fact, most of the people that we've had on the show are good at one thing.
Absolutely.
And they focus on that one thing. They get good at it and they rock it, and that's what they've done. They've focused down and they've got that track going. And they're not people, except I think J.A. Huss, she seems to be someone who does everything. I've watched her stuff and she's all about the hustle, and I'm pretty sure it was her. I'm pretty sure I have
we
the
can
right
admire
name.
those people. We don't have to emulate them.
No, especially if it stresses you out and leaves you feeling burned out and unable to do anything, and thinking maybe a career as a gardener is the way to go.
Yeah. Although having said that, I would actually really like a career.
Okay. All right. Okay. So we won't.
Okay.
Okay. The career is the mailman.
Yeah. No, that could, no.
I have a friend who really likes being a mailman.
I'd love to draw. They've got those cool cuts. But
Hey,
anyway,
but you know,
I
like
feel
on
like
that
we've done
note,
that.
I feel like we've probably actually killed this to death, and these people now
we've run out of steam.
We've run out of steam for this episode. We should keep going. We should, on that note, we should keep going because we've run out of steam to show how it's done.
Let's try and keep the listeners that we have.
Okay. All right.
All right.
So, hopefully that's been helpful to everyone listening, and that you've got some ideas of what you can do to help you get through the book and your career. Where can we be found, Shah?
Wow, surprisingly, we can be found at sparkgirlspodcast.com with all our previous shows and all our show notes there as well. And keep going, people. But
keep on trucking.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's the official word from the Spa Girls. Keep on trucking.
Keep on trucking.
Hustle along there, boss babe.
Hashtag.
Bye for now.
Hashtag hustle.
Bye now.
See you, boss babe.
Bye.